Hey, it's Doug with Backcountry Pilgrim. I'm here to talk to you today about a backpack that has been a bucket list item of mine for quite a while, and that is the Hilltop Packs Raven. This is my first backpack that just goes all in for ultralight. I've put it through its paces, ready to talk about it now. So let me begin with the pack tour and the basic stats, and then I'll let you know what my experience has been with it. I've been a huge fan of Hilltop Packs for quite some time. This is a family-owned, American-made backpacking gear company that kind of made it famous by not only producing ultralight gear, but also with their customized printing. I'll get to the print on this when I talk more about the pack, but let me just start off with the basics of the Hilltop Packs Raven. The Raven is Hilltop Packs' full-size backpack. You can get it anywhere from 35 to 50 liters, and that volume is calculated only in the main body. It is not including any outside storage, which on this pack, typical of most UL backpacks, is going to be a big front pocket and 2 side pockets, and nothing else in the basic version. If you get the smallest Raven available with no extras, these actually start at 16 ounces. That's 1 pound. However, even with a bigger volume and a lot of the extras in the way I ordered it, I still barely managed to get it above 1.5 pounds. This is a 25-ounce pack. It is a 40-liter body with a couple of add-ons, which I'll get to as I go through the pack tour. Now, the pack itself is made of 2.92 Dyneema and 5.0 Dyneema in some of the more abrasive stress points. Now, Dyneema is natively waterproof, however, seams never are. So Hilltop Packs has taped all horizontal seams, and the vertical seams are double sewn with bias tape reinforced to keep the water out. One thing that the Raven version 3, I guess for 2024, added is a drain hole in these pockets, which is really nice because if it rains, these are definitely going to collect water, keeps your gear from floating, and it also keeps the water pressure from squeezing through into the pack. Even though these are seam taped, moisture can overcome that if there's a lot of pressure. So first of all, this is a roll top pack. It opens up quite a bit, as you can see. This is a pretty large body here. In fact, when it's open and you look down inside, it's pretty sizable. Because Hilltop Packs is only considering the body for its liter measurements, this is something closer to probably what you'd get in a 50-liter pack from a big box brand. Now, the inside of the pack, like most UL packs, is featureless. There's no hydration sleeve, clip, or routing, which is fine with me because I don't really like using hydration bladders on overnight trips. And so for a bag designed for those kinds of trips, I would have no use for it. Now, starting from the top of the pack, I can show you one of the add-ons I got, which is a detachable Y-strap that goes over the top. It's extra long, that's why there's so much extra strap hanging off of here. You don't need to keep that if you don't need it, but what it allows you to do is put something on top of the pack if you need to. So for example, if you're taking this on a multi-day trek and you need to carry a bear canister, the larger canisters are not going to fit very well inside the body of this pack. You're going to run out of room really quick if you use one of those. So Ben McMillan, who graciously made me this pack, told me that the preferred method is to actually just carry the bear canister on top empty. Now, that may sound kind of ridiculous, but if you think about how little those bear canisters weigh, I mean, about as much as a bottle of water, putting one on the outside frees up all the room in the body, doesn't add a whole lot of pack weight to the top, and it gives you a convenient stool if you need to stop somewhere and take a break. So because there are many areas in California where a bear canister is mandated, and they seem to be kind of a better idea anyway in many cases, I opted for the Y-strap. Now, one of the things I love about this is that every connection point on here is a quick release, so you can just ditch this thing real fast if you don't think you're going to need it. Coming to the front, another custom feature of this pack is the front pocket. You do have 2 options on the material. You can get kind of the standard, real stretchy closed cell mesh, or you can opt for the larger hold mesh that I've got here. Now, I'm like 51-49 on front pocket materials. I like them both for different reasons. Ultimately, I went with the more open hole because although it can snag a little easier, it's also easier to repair. It also lets you see the gear that's in here better so you can find things quickly. And if you have wet items that you are trying to dry out, they're going to do better in here. Now, one thing that I love about the way this pack is set up is that you do have a stretchy cord holding the pocket shut on top. It is cinchable, and you've got elastic cordage crisscrossing the outside. That allows you to cinch this down if you're not using it. It holds gear very tightly, even though the pocket itself is not super stretchy. And if you do max out the pack and the pocket, you still have storage opportunity on the outside simply by lashing it down with the cordage. So I'm a big fan of this particular combo of front pocket material and features. The side pockets on the Raven are enormous. You can easily get a couple of smart water bottles in here. They are cinchable at the top through this little piece of cordage. So if you do have something smaller in here like a stove or something that you don't want popping out, you can cinch the pocket down on the top and keep whatever is in here in here. However, if you've got a tent or something large that you need that extra size pocket for, it's really nice to have it. And because you've got these side cords winding up and down the side here, you can lash tall things into that pocket and have them stuck to the side of the pack. Another thing I like about this Raven is that these cords are all removable. You can really get this thing down to a very light weight, even if you have a lot of options added. Coming down to the bottom of the pack, you'll notice I don't have any cordage or anything else down here. I just wanted a reinforced bottom. I don't personally like to carry gear on the bottom of my pack because when I take it off, I don't want to set my pack onto my gear. I also don't like having things hanging very low. However, you do have some loops here for cordage if you want to add something. Now, one of the add-ons that is available for the Raven is a bottom pocket. I know these are pretty popular on a lot of the more ultralight packs. It gives you like quick storage, place to put your garbage and stuff like that. Again, that's just not for me. I don't really like those pockets that much. I don't mind them, but it wasn't something I really wanted to have added on, so I don't have that on this pack. The rest of my add-ons are in the back on the harness system. So in addition to a decently sized carry handle, you've got these nice 3-inch wide shoulder straps. These are fantastic. I personally believe that width and surface area is more important to comfort on shoulder straps than padding. If you have shoulder straps that are very narrow, I just don't believe that padding is the answer. I think that surface area is. Even so, Hilltop does give you nice thick padding, and because of the width, these carry very well. Now, even though the Raven is a frameless pack, Hilltop does give you load lifters. Now, of course, these are not going to fulfill the classic function of a load lifter without a frame. However, I find that adjustability very nice. I just like being able to adjust where the pack is sitting. Sometimes it's just been in one place for too long and I want to shift the weight either farther onto or off of my hips, and the load lifter straps still retain that functionality even though they are not lifting the strap off of your shoulder onto a frame. Another thing you probably notice is the daisy chain webbing. This is an absolute must with me. I will not buy another pack that doesn't have this because I like to add a lot of accessories to the front of my harness. I think it distributes the weight better, and there's just certain things that I want to have reachable from the front without taking my pack off, so I really appreciate this daisy chain webbing. Of course, Hilltop also sells water bottles and other kind of accessory pockets that you can put on here. You can get them from Chicken Tramp, or a lot of other companies have them, and they will all work with the webbing that Hilltop Packs gives you. Now, another function of the daisy chain is to hold the adjustable sternum strap. Basically has this little plastic attachment here that can be moved up and down the various loops of the daisy chain, and that's how you adjust where it goes. I personally don't find sliding adjusters all that helpful on sternum straps. I really just kind of have one place that I like them, and once they're there, I just want them to stay there. So it doesn't really bother me that I can't micro adjust the sternum strap, and so having this kind of attachment I found to be perfectly useful. Now, 2 out of the 3 add-ons that I got for this pack are back here. One of them is this cordage that goes through these loops on the back. This allows you to put a sleep pad back here unfolded to kind of turn it into a quasi frame for the backpack, give you some cushion between your body and whatever is in this pack, and perhaps a little bit of ventilation. I haven't actually used this. The pack has been perfectly comfortable without it, but I do like having that option. And finally, the last add-on was this nice 3-inch wide hip belt, which kind of uses the same material and makeup that the shoulder straps do to go around your waist. Also, like the shoulder straps, you have daisy chain webbing on the belt, which allows you to attach pockets and other accessories, which I have found extremely useful. What I like about this hip belt is that it actually slides through this lower back pad, and so it's very easy to just remove it if you don't need it for a particular loadout. Now with this pack, you actually have 4 hip belt options. 1, you can get the big full-size padded belt like I did. 2, you can just get a 1-inch strap that really functions more for retention and keeping the pack from shifting around than an actual load carrier. You can also get the Hilltop Packs fanny pack, which will take the place of the 1-inch strap and add a fanny pack into your loadout. Or you can just use no hip belt at all and lower the weight of the pack even more. The very last add-on is an ice axe loop, which I don't recall asking for, but Ben put it on there anyway, and it's turned out to be pretty cool to have. Now there are attachment points up here for trekking poles, so there is a way to get them on here, but this is actually a pretty decent way to do it. It just keeps them all on one side. If you don't want to do it that way, between the pockets and all the elastic cordage, stowing your trekking poles is not a problem. All right, let's talk about my experience with the Hilltop Packs Raven. I did take it on a couple of day hikes just to make sure that it fit and there weren't any obvious problems. I didn't find any. And so when I went on the 3rd section of my Tahoe Yosemite Trail hike, that is when I took this bag. Now this would be a good time to talk about the custom printing available on the Hilltop Packs Raven. As you can see, I have a map printed onto this backpack. This is my dad's Desolation Wilderness map that he gave me before he passed, and it is the first part of the Tahoe Yosemite Trail. So I had Hilltop Packs print this onto the Dyneema of my backpack. They also added the Tahoe Yosemite Trail logo that I made up, as well as my Backcountry Pilgrim channel logo. Now this printing option on the Hilltop Packs Raven comes at no extra cost, and it makes it the most customized backpack you can really get. There's no other backpack in the world that is going to look like your backpack once you get it customized with your personal images. Now, to be honest, I was a little worried about taking the Raven on this particular hike because everything I knew and everything I heard about this route said that this was going to be a bear of a hike, and it did turn out to be probably the hardest hike I've ever done. Besides the route finding and elevation change and some of the other challenges, much of the route was heavily overgrown with manzanita and other kind of bushes that are not very friendly to backpacking gear. When you're using ultralight materials, you really just can't expect to also get a high amount of durability, and I didn't want to take my beautiful custom pack out into a situation where it was just going to get torn to shreds. This pack was not treated very well on the TYT. Oh, excuse me, sorry. I was going through bush, including manzanita, that was so thickly overgrown that it was literally stopping me from making forward progress. And in other places where I was able to push through, I was literally having gear ripped off of my pack. And listening to all that scratching and scraping as I was pushing through the bushes, I just figured, you know what? This is gonna have to be a one and done. I'm gonna get home and I'm gonna have to order a new pack because I'm definitely tearing this thing up. Well, I was honestly astonished when I got home to realize that after I got it cleaned up and got all the dirt off, the pack looked perfect. There were no tears, no extra holes. There wasn't a scratch on it. I could have just wiped it down and put it on the showroom floor as a brand new pack, and I don't think anybody could have told the difference. Now, the other concern that I had about taking the pack on this trip was comfort. I've never actually had a completely frameless ultralight pack before, and although I knew some of the tips and tricks you're supposed to use in packing and everything to make it comfortable, I really just packed it up the way I normally would and threw it on my back. Now, I had a base weight of just under 17 pounds for this trip because I had photo gear and batteries and stuff like that. But even with 4 full days of food and a couple liters of water, I was still under 25 pounds. The pack felt very good. I never felt like it was hurting me. It didn't cause any kind of soreness or injury. And even after 4 days of some of the hardest hiking I've ever done, I felt just fine having carried this pack the whole time. However, on the morning of day 2, concerned that I might have to do a big time water carry to get myself out of the canyon if the creek wasn't running, I loaded up an additional 6 liters of water. That brought this pack to nearly 40 pounds, which does exceed its recommended weight carry. I was very interested to see how good it was going to feel, and honestly, other than just being a lot heavier, it was still pretty darn comfortable. Now, it's no mystery ranch. I'm not going to be throwing a deer carcass in a Raven, but I was very pleased with how well it carried, even when it was overloaded with all that water. So do I have any criticisms of the Raven, or is there anything that I would like to see done in a different way? There were really only about 2 things that I found myself thinking I wish could be a little bit better. One of them was the attachment of the sternum strap. Somehow, with all of my messing around with the gear on my shoulder straps, I managed to unclip it a couple of times off of the daisy chain. And although it's not difficult to get back on, when the pack is on and you're already tired and you have a lot of gear on there, it was a bit of a pain to get it put back together again. So I'm not sure if there's even a good solution to that, but if there was, I wouldn't mind seeing a bit more permanent of an attachment point there. The only other thing I noticed that was a bit of a challenge with this pack over my other backpacks was that I felt that some of the smaller nylon straps bound up quite a bit in the buckle system. Now, I definitely would prefer that issue over them being too loose. However, there were times where I just felt like I had to use both hands to get a single strap loosened up, when I'm used to just being able to pull a buckle and have it almost instantly release. It just seemed like the thickness of the straps, or maybe the size of the buckles, was making the Raven a little hard to adjust, because it almost felt like the straps were sticky trying to get them to feed through those little buckles. Not a deal killer, not a huge deal, but if there was some way to alleviate that particular issue, I sure wouldn't mind it. All right, well, that is my considered review of the Hilltop Packs Raven version 3. Ben, one more time, I just want to thank you so much for making me this backpack. It is just beautiful. It is highly functional. It delivers on all of its promises, and I just really appreciate having this. If you are looking for a custom American-made backpack that is ultralight but still extremely comfortable and a good load carrier, I would definitely check out the Hilltop Packs Raven. Until next time, I'm Doug. This is Backcountry Pilgrim. Thanks for watching.